Hey, it's Alex from BoardGameCo, and today we are talking about the question, is Kickstarter dead or not? Of course not. It's not dead. Why would it be dead? That's crazy. That's clickbaity, honestly, and my content is never, ever, in any way, remotely resembling anything clickbaity. I'm above board. But in any case, in about 5 minutes, roughly, give or take, I will be having an interview with Marcin from Awaken Realms, and I decided to do this video, well, after that interview, to give full context for those who aren't yet aware. And what is it that you should be aware of? Well, the fact that Gamefound, which is a pledge manager system owned by Awaken Realms, been around for a few years now, they announced yesterday, or a few days ago, that they are coming out with a full crowdfunding competitor to Kickstarter. Specifically in the board game world, at least initially, and we'll see how that plays out over time, but effectively they are trying to deliver a better platform than Kickstarter. Kickstarter, while a great platform in many ways, hasn't really evolved over the years to match the way board game creators use it. The way various publishers and companies and designers use the platform, it is often a hodgepodge of trying to make things work within a totally different system that was never adjusted in any way to suit our needs. And so Gamefound a few years ago said, you know what, maybe we should jump in and get involved in that, and they are. And when I first heard about this, I was skeptical, to be very clear. But where I am right now is I want every single company using this platform. And by the way, this video is not sponsored or anything whatsoever. They are offering features that I have talked about in the past, features that we need, features that Kickstarter should have had a long time ago. And we'll go through some of these. I talked about them in the interview as well, but I wanted you to have a quick overview of these features as I go through them, something visual so you understand what's going on. Now, first of all, the comments over here. They're going to be making the comment section cleaner and better than the way Kickstarter is meant to be, the way Kickstarter is currently. They're going to be adding the ability to hashtag certain things, the ability to thumb up comments, to sort them in different ways. They're going to be trying to make comments more of an interactive experience and not just a mess of things that are completely lost. Stretch goals. Stretch goals are something that were never ever done properly. Stretch goals were a concept that I think we're going way back to Zombicide were introduced and have been a staple of Kickstarter ever since. But there's no functionality behind them. You have content creators or board game creators staying up till 2:30 in the morning to try to put out an update because that's when the stretch goal got unlocked. They are building stretch goals into the technology of the platform. You'll get an email when you back. Congratulations, you've contributed to the funding goal. And look, you've also unlocked these stretch goals. They are building stretch goals as part of the platform. They're going to have everything of what's already unlocked, what's next to unlocked. This is going to be an actual technology around stretch goals as opposed to someone just updating a graphic all the time. Add-ons. Add-ons are going to be something you can actually do. Kickstarter never adjusted to add-ons. You have pledges on the side and that's it. And you can have a bundled pledge and that's it. You can't have a customized cart of different things that you want. And now you'll be able to. Add-ons are going to be built into the platform in a way that makes sense considering how many add-ons exist on Kickstarter. Do you want that playmat? Well, now you can have that playmat and just click this instead of being, well, I have to add $35 to my pledge, but I also got the all-in pledge, which I think was $235 plus $35 for the playmat. No, it's all going to be there. It's going to be a regular store, except for a product that doesn't exist yet. Pledges. They're going to have bundled pledges. That all-in pledge I mentioned will actually reflect the various add-ons, actually have items in them as opposed to just graphics. They're going to have a campaign mini wizard and navigation, something that helps guide people through the process, especially helpful if you are new to Kickstarter. And all of these things, and there's going to have a whole suite of functionalities for creators as well. I'm focusing more on the consumer side, but for the creators, they're also doing a lot more in terms of what a creator can do. Basically, what Gamefound is doing, what Awaken Realms is doing, is they are taking one of the biggest innovations in the board game space over the past decade. One of the biggest things, 30%, roughly 30% of the content on Kickstarter is board games. Board games have become almost synonymous with Kickstarter to a degree, and Awaken Realms, Gamefound, is taking that and they're trying to build something better. They're trying to build something that will be a better software, better technology to help other people grow in this space. And I don't mean it, pure goodwill. Obviously, it helps them as well. I'm not trying to sell any whatever, but I think this will be better for the space. Gamefound as a pledge manager, for those who don't know, it's something we'll talk about in the interview, but it was created specifically because of the fact that other tools weren't doing what they needed. And so what you see here, this laundry list of features that you see, that is already makes this a viable product, it already makes this something that I want to see people on. It's only going to get better from there. Marcin and Awaken Realms, they are a company that constantly is trying to do better. They are constantly iterating on the products that they deliver, whether it's games, technology, or whatever. And so that is a good framework for the interview. In a few minutes now, I guess, or in a few seconds now, you will see Marcin and myself, and we'll talk for a bit. There'll be timestamps if you want to skip to any particular section, but basically expect me to be hyping this product, expect me to be hyping GameFound over the next year or two while I try to get other people to consistently use it, although I should probably wait because you can't actually use it just yet. In any case, enjoy the interview, enjoy the show, and I'll see you on the other side. Hello everyone, I am Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo, and today with us we have Marcin from Awaken Realms to talk about GameFound and the new GameFound Kickstarter competitor. What do we even call it? The crowdfunding platform? Crowdsourcing? What are you calling it?
Yeah, let's just go with crowdfunding platform. Yeah,
crowdfunding platform. And before we even get into that, I want a bit of a context or history for GameFound itself as a pledge manager. What made you guys start to go from board games to making a pledge manager?
Sure. All right. Yeah, that's a bit long story, but I hope that'll be fine. Basically, we started as a total startup at the very, very start. We painted miniatures for Warhammer 40,000 and Fantasy Battle and so forth with 2 people in the basement, and we kind of started up from that. And it was 5 or 6 years ago, something like that. And fast forward, our first big board game, This War of Mine, the board game, right? And at this point, we had to, after the campaign, obviously need to make a pledge manager, right? Which is, in itself, this was like the biggest kind of wall that we smashed me into because for us, this was like, it was strange that you have a kind of a platform and then you have to do another platform.
It's bizarre. I mean, I started getting into Kickstarters a few years ago when I first understood what the concept was. It made sense, but it was strange.
Yeah, I mean, there are some pluses, some minuses. Like the plus, obviously, is that it's easy to set up first thing, but afterwards you still need to do the work in terms of shipping and so forth. But either way, and then at this point, we kind of researched the offer of the current pledge managers out there. But basically, we thought that there was one function that we really needed, and no one offered it. That was invoice generation.
Okay.
Because we had how many, like 10,000 backers probably. That was 10,000 backers, and this means you had to have 30,000 invoices, and we had to do that manually or find another solution. So we felt like, all right, let's I don't want to waste my life on manual invoice making. so basically we felt like, all right, let's do the system ourselves. Which was, huge task, ambitious task and whatnot, but it was not the first time that we do something that seems extremely stupid and ambitious and, impossible to do.
And that's fascinating because I'm used to hearing someone taking a core competency, like, for instance, you said painting miniatures and whatnot, and then expanding it to, okay, great, now we're doing board games. But you don't stop there. You're like, okay, and also now we'll code a bunch of stuff too. Like it's fascinating the realms to which that's just like, okay, we'll just build it ourselves. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of it has pluses and minuses again. I mean, I guess it's an interesting life to live because you're doing a lot of ambitious stuff, but on the flip side is that you need to work a lot. That's a lot of time to do stuff. Anyway, so we started to do it basically to cater ourselves, and plus, obviously, we didn't have to pay other pledge managers fees, so that's always a good thing because when you take like 5% or whatever from a few $100,000. It's something, right? It's maybe not a lifesaver, but
no.
Still,
I mean, right? I added up before this call. I added up. I think all your Kickstarters to date combined, not counting the miniatures, were up to like something like 21 million pounds. I think, which 5% of that adds up pretty quickly.
That's exactly. That's anyway.
so, how long have you been working on this? I guess crowdsourcing. Then, how long has this been in the works?
But just to kind of continue up on that story, right? And when we had this tool, we felt like, all right, maybe let's offer this to other people because we have everything set up, it's ready, it's working, and why not? Because if we would keep it only for ourselves, there is no gain. If we'll offer it to other ones, like the tool wasn't good enough to actually charge anything for it, so we were like, yes, maybe we'll just put it out for free, and then we'll have good feedback from the users, like what they need, what they don't need, and so forth. And plus, we'll build a community. This was like the idea, like, okay, we'll build a community. We don't know exactly where this is going, but it is good to have a community, basically. This is a huge value in itself. You put out the brand, people start to trust it because they use it for years and they know that it's safe and so forth and so forth. So this was as it. And at some point, it was like, all right, we have like actually 100,000 of users.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we can actually do something with it because, obviously starting from the ground up and saying like, yeah, we'll be now, a biggest crowdfunding for board games with no team, no technology, no users, no creators. That would be pretty stupid to go about it, right?
Now you have the framework.
Yeah, now we have it still is, it still is a huge, ambitious task to create a crowdfunding for board games, which will be better because it's not like I'm kind of repeating that all the time. It's not like I don't like Kickstarter. I think that Kickstarter is amazing. If not Kickstarter, we would not be here. I think that the one thing that they are kind of indifferent is that they are not dedicated to board games.
Yeah.
And this is where they actually lose a lot of functionality that we could have, and
100%.
having this kind of dedicated because they are doing everything from art, technology to
but it's not. I mean, it's an excuse to an extent. Now, first of all, I'm with you. I like Kickstarter. I have no complaints. But at the same time, I believe board games are, I think, their largest sector in what they do.
25 to 30%. Yeah.
Yeah, which is insane.
Lot, yeah.
And for that to be a sector that large within Kickstarter, and for them to have not in any way innovated for basically 10 years now. I think just now we're finally starting to see some innovations, some changes.
Yeah.
And with you guys coming along, it might be too little too late. Like, this might have been great for them 2 years ago.
We'll see. I mean, there are, for example, BackerKit is a great example, or other tools. I'm kind of surprised that they haven't, like, it was pretty obvious, like, what people did, right?
Yeah.
That was strange. But anyway, but the idea is that, okay, so we were building this base. We actually managed to already have some great numbers. I was surprised because we did this summary just for the press release, and when I look at the summary, I was like, holy shit! Like when I saw that exactly. When I saw that we actually save people 4.5 million euro on the pledge manager charges that they would otherwise pay, 5%, and I thought like, that's a lot of money that people could use to, making the companies bigger, making better games or whatnot. Like, this huge impact. I felt like I was quite proud of myself. Like, oh, we actually brought out some value to people, right? To all those people who use GameFound for Pledge Manager. So that was cool. And obviously now we want to go into this crowdfunding. And we want to be right now laser focused on making the best board game crowdfunding and all the features that we miss for ourselves. And there are always two sides of it. First, you have the users, and then you have the creators. And the creator thing, I think that Kickstarter is great for from user perspective, because you can have friends, you can follow stuff, so a lot of things. But from the creators, there's a huge improvement to be made in terms of, because people don't realize, but making board games is not only about making board games, but it's also a lot about shipping, taxes, administration, order, product numbers, kind of collecting that, production management, and so forth. That's a lot, probably 80% of
it's almost like it's a real company.
Yeah, it's almost like history. Yeah, exactly. Who would have thought, right? And having a tool that could help solve that, this is probably one thing that we would love to do. If we would be able to help people manage that, make it easier, more approachable, then two things would happen. First thing, I think that we would reduce the number of projects that will not deliver or misdeliver. Because I really believe that most of the projects that do not deliver or misdeliver starts with good intentions, but people have just no idea how much effort does it cost, and how much shipping costs, and how much production costs. They are calculating their margins bad, they are over promising stuff, and then they have really hard time delivering. And those are it's not like those people are bad or something. They're just, they wasn't informed. There is no way of them knowing because this is their first projects or whatnot. But just imagine a different situation. Just imagine you're a first-time creator. You enter a website, and the website says to you, here is your price calculator for shipping. And we'll just give you a good estimate that we know that are good because we were in the business for 5 to 7 years. And we can tell you like what shipping rates are realistic and what are not, right? Here are the production estimates. Here is what you will
And you can do that with
taxes.
production? Like, how far down that rabbit hole can you go? It's got to be complicated once you start getting production.
Yeah, it will be. This is kind of like the end goal that we have. This extremely ambitious project, but it is doable. It is because, basically my attitude is like, I don't like things that are stupid, basically. And for me, trying to price down a board game and having to have 100 email response with someone from the Chinese factory is stupid. I should have a calculator where I put this number of cards. It would, see what the price of this component is on the market, what is the currency exchange rate, and just give me the feed, which would be, 10%, 20% maybe estimate.
But it's still at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. But it's still good, especially during the campaign where I have to promise people stretch goals that I will later have to deliver, right?
Yeah. A custom insert will be this much. The sculpting on 5 minutes will be this much. The production
and you can
on
do
100.
that. It's everything, it's priceable by, some algorithm or whatever. It's, huge task. But as a target, it's amazing. Like one thing that we were able to achieve already is this invoicing module, and people probably don't realize. But as for small projects, it's not a big issue. For bigger companies, this is starting to be an issue because. For example, our company is already registered in 20 different countries in Europe for the tax reasons. Because if you go through the threshold to sales of direct customers, you need to pay the taxes inside. And it's started to be the same in US right now.
Yeah,
right?
in the US, it varies by state, but it's something like, either if you have like 200 sales or it's a complicated thing, but yeah.
Yeah, basically, thank you, Amazon, for kind of,
exactly
making this a reality. Because before that, no one actually cared. But one company abused it to the limit, and now everyone needs to pay the price for it. Thanks.
Yes.
Either way, anyway, so for us, once we're registered in those 20 countries, it doesn't matter if we'll put there 1,000 invoice, 10,000 invoice, or 100,000 invoice. It is fully scalable, and also we made the invoices automatical. And invoices for crowdfunding are weird because how do you treat it? Is it a sale? Is it what? Right? It's actually an advancement payment for an order that will be delivered, later on time. And sometimes you get 2 advancement because people say, for product, then for shipping. So you have 2 different payments, and then you start delivering it. So there's a final invoice and blah, 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 right?
It's a mess, basically.
It's extreme mess. One of the we actually reach out to some companies that do that for a living, like for tax purposes. And they were like, no, our systems cannot handle that. And we were like, all right, yeah, cool. So we'll probably need to do something ourselves. And it took us a year and a half. The tax module, but right now everything is automatically generated. We're good to go. I sleep well knowing that all the taxes are paid and so forth. And I think that a lot of creators would be happy about that, knowing that they can actually just focus on the game.
There's an expert behind the scenes. It makes sense.
So the first thing is to limit the amount of projects that misdeliver, underdeliver, overpromise, and so forth and so forth. The second part is the benefit to it all. The creators can actually focus on board games. And I think this is a huge thing. Like probably, I would say my guess would be like 70% of the board games could be twice better because the creators would focus on them instead of, managing everything all around it, right?
Yeah.
I'm a happy man because I have a great team who, helps with the board games and tests. So for a while, with administrative team, I'm taking care of all the other stuff, right?
How big is Awaken Realms now?
Like all the other different companies inside.
Well, I guess how big is 100? Wow.
100 people. But we also started doing digital games.
Yeah, I know. You guys have Gamefound, you have Digital Awaken Realms. Now you have Gamefound Phase 2 or whatever it is, and I don't know what else you have.
Yeah. We used to have a pub, but this wasn't a success. So yeah. Yeah. So anyway, but there are a lot of companies that are just two people, and
Yeah.
if they are stuck in management, so first they're just not working on the game, and the game suffers, and in the end the hobby suffer because
Yeah.
we have a lot of wasted potential, and it doesn't make sense for hundreds companies go through the same learning process, right? It would
Again
be
and
much
again and
better,
again.
and the same mistakes happening again and again, the same pricing, and it's stupid. Again, I don't like stupid things, so I think that making this like as a base where you have a great example of that. You have like Airbnb or those kind of companies where they take care of stuff and you just do your thing and we'll take care of all the rest,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, it's not a new concept. Even like something like
It is.
Shopify. Shopify is like, it's basically saying, hey, you want to sell stuff, you don't have to
Yep.
rebuild a website every single
Yep.
time. We see it
Exactly.
in lots of areas in life. We haven't seen it. I remember I put out a video about Kickstarter way back in the day. Well, way back's relative, but where I said, like, so one of the first piece of advice I would give is talk to other creators. There's no reason
yeah.
to learn things. Like, there's no reason to go through all those hoops yourself. Other people have done this. And you're just taking it a step further. You're making it, forget talk to other creators, go with the whole 9 yards. There's a whole system that'll do things for you.
Yeah. I think that this is an ambitious goal. I know that well, but I think that we if there is a level to compete, that would be probably it by functionality.
And
because
Rome doesn't have to be built in a day. You have to be competitive enough out the door that people use it. But once they are, if you can, there's no end to what you can do and advance in.
Sure. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So how, going back to what I was asking, so how long ago have you started? Like, when was this? When did you sit there and say, okay, now we're going to build a competitor to Kickstarter? When did that start?
Probably a year ago. That would started like. Okay, so the kind of like the idea was floating around for a while, but it was always like just something like maybe someday, whatever, right? Yeah, but a year ago we are like, well, we actually can do it. Like there is a real chance of us doing that. So this is when we actually started drafting and putting it to life with all the different functionalities and so forth, right? So.
Yeah, and when did you know that ISS Vanguard was going to be the first game?
Okay, so ISS Vanguard is in the development for a long time because this is a game that I really wanted to, personally, I really wanted to make a positive space exploration opera. I'm so excited. I'm so angry that humanity is so stuck on so silly topics where we could actually be out there and exploring Mars and stuff like that. If there's one thing, just imagine if we would be able to actually just watch TV when people are landing on Mars or Venus. Why are we not doing that? That's just kind of bugging me, but whatever. All right. Okay. Sorry. I'm digressing.
I get it. Listen, movies and games about Mars are very popular.
Yeah,
just the real
sure.
thing, not so much.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is something that I really personally want to do as a great space opera adventurers and so forth. So we're working for it a lot, and when we started working it, obviously that was just when we're working on games, we're just working on games. We don't have any specific plans, and then after it's on the stage where we'll kind of green light it to a mass production, meaning that we're starting to produce tons of art on it and so forth, right? This is the time when we actually put a label. So I would say that the decision that it would probably a few months ago when we were more or less sure that we're actually going to be able to do a crowdfunding at a satisfying level of features. Yeah.
So, and what's it called in terms of branding? Are you calling it GameFound? What are you calling this?
Yeah, just GameFound.
GameFound. So it's just gonna be I'm trying to think. I'm trying to visually picture how people are going to be like, oh yeah, I'm just putting it on GameFound. It's interesting because you guys have been a backer kit until now, so it's a different. It's not backer kit because you've been a pledge manager until now.
Yeah,
yeah. And when do you plan on opening it to other creators? I know you had a thing about you're starting with this and you're going to see how it plays out.
Sure. All right. So one thing that it's extremely important to us is to actually talk with the community. I think if there's like one gripe against Kickstarter is that they probably could do a better job communicating with creators and backers. Anyway, so what we want to do is we want to take after we launch the first projects, we want to take 3 to 4 months where we'll only hand select the few projects that we want to put in and support them, and basically, only trusted creators that we know personally of, and so forth and so forth. But meanwhile, use this time to actually gather as much feedback as possible. Talk with users, talk with creators. What do they want? What do they think is fair? Because there are a lot of tricky questions when you think about it on crowdfunding. Like, for example, how many campaigns, undelivered campaigns, should be allowed, right? Or how many? Like, there's like a lot of those kind of, and we would love to prepare a very transparent rule set that would apply to everyone. And
interesting, because one of the things that's always very tricky is, and one of the things Kickstarter has not done a great job balancing, but it's a complicated conversation, is to use the most basic example, a fresh new company that hasn't delivered anything, for them to have 2 open projects is already a risk, versus a company that has, like a company like Awaken Realms, like Come On, or any of those companies, well, it's less of a risk. So how do you apply a rule set equally to everyone? Or do you just make it about something if you have X number of delivered projects? It's a complicated question.
It is. That's why I don't have answer today.
You're just working on
it. I mean, we thought about it a great deal, and there are a few ideas, but I want to listen to everyone, because there is, maybe it's about information. Maybe we should put like some kind of risk warning at the very top or whatever, because maybe there are some people who don't care, who are okay with investing in something, but maybe there should be some kind of risk level warning or whatever for you to decide on your own, right?
That makes sense. Even just, it's fascinating, I didn't think about it, even just a simple sticker saying this creator has 4 outstanding campaigns and has delivered 6 campaigns. Even that is a lot of information.
And it seems like very easy to do, right?
Yeah, it would be. It's actually, and that's very interesting. And then in terms of the eventual plan is for it to be open to everyone over time?
Sure. So after those 4 months, not to everyone. We want to kind of go a little bit more detailed on vetting people, basically. Sure. So again, I think that 95, probably 98% of people who are doing the campaigns are actually passionate people with good intentions, but there are some bad apples, and I don't think, and I think that it spoils a lot. Like, the cost of those few bad apples is actually huge, because it sucks knowing that you're scammed, basically, and I really don't want this on the platform.
Makes sense. And is there a plan for is this going to be free like GameFound, or it's going to be charged?
No. It will be charged normally. So obviously there will be, like, I understand that there will be the disparity of the reach. I'm not naive enough to know that we'll start off and we'll have the same amount of community or reach than Kickstarter, right? So there will be some incentives that will be talking out with different creators in terms of balancing it out. But those will be like more of individual talks, depending on what projects will it be, and so forth and so forth. Eventually we think that we'll hope to achieve the functionality level that will actually be the biggest
draw.
Exactly. That that with us you'll have, like, your investors taken care of, you'll have the pledge manager at the same platform, everything will be in one place, and so forth and so forth. So it will be, like, easier to make a choice, right?
Yeah. And is there a plan for GameFound to be free forever, or you're taking it by ear?
We'll see. You mean the pledge manager, right?
The pledge manager, yes.
Sure. We'll see. It's open. Like, currently it's free, and we don't have, like, very rigid plans of, like, from this one it will be. We're actually debating few choices, but kind of the popular idea is to somehow have the more advanced modules as something like premium, like, if you want the invoicing or if you want this or that and that, then it probably will be paid. But some kind of like, I love to, and I think this is a good idea where you have this small creators, small companies, one-man people, and you just basically offer things for them, right? But if you have like a big operations, then you can charge more.
So effectively, you want to continue to be what GameFound has been until now, which is helping people, while also balancing that with not being taken advantage of by profitable ventures that are doing well.
Yeah, sure. Like obviously, it's not like this is charitable organization. At some point in the future, we definitely see us making money, but we definitely want to balance it out and also make it. We're thinking much more long-term game than just short-term benefits, and also making sure that creators, users are satisfied with the platform is very important for us.
Perfect. And speaking of which, I'll use that to jump into. I wanted to go over a bunch of features, both what you're talking about, what you're adding, as well as some questions I had of my own in terms of things you're potentially adding or just things to keep in mind. I'm going to focus more on the user-based features because my audience is more user-based as opposed to creator-based. But I'm going to start off with basically just going to go through your blog post effectively. I'm going to start with the comments. One of the things you're doing with comments is you're adding the ability to like comments, to hashtag comments, to basically, instead of being the mess that Kickstarter comments are effectively, to give some form of order to the madness. And so in addition to the things you're already doing, I did have a few questions in terms of what your plans are. So number one is the Kickstarter. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I assume you have the app or whatnot, but their app functions differently than the website. The app, it's not threaded, and the website, it is threaded. Do you plan on like having threaded on both?
Yeah. I mean, we don't right now. We were much more focusing.
Yet.
Yeah, we are much more focused on making very mobile friendly website.
Cool.
Maybe at some point.
Sure.
But we want to have it same on both ways. And also there are a few features that are missing if we're talking about comment section. Definitely we're missing some kind of core community features currently, which is like, for example, being able to message to other backer or creator.
Okay. And I assume you plan on adding that.
Yeah, that's like, I'm not sure because we're kind of crunching hard in terms to make it to the deadline.
No,
I'm not sure
I meant
how
over
much
time.
things...
I don't mean now.
Oh yeah, I'm over time for sure.
Yeah, and then
basically
in terms of email notifications when someone replies to your thread.
Yeah, probably you'll be able to manage that, not just to spam your emails, because those common threads can can be wild.
And then I noticed on the main page for ISS Vanguard, when you have it up on the main page, you have like this comment section above the fold. Is that something that's always going to be there? Something users can decide on?
Yeah, it will be decided on the user, and also there will be a special dedicated comment section.
Yes,
and it will have more details in terms of it will not be only hashtags, but probably mentions where you were mentioned, or responses, like official responses from creator. We also probably want to add some kind of community or creator management of the comments, because sometimes you got really toxic people in the comment section, and they are just distorting discussion all the time to kind of negativity. And
what about banning? Can you ban a backer?
Not yet, but this is, there are a lot of topics like that, right?
Because I remember
those are very tricky question, extremely tricky, because there are different cases. For example, you can have like an extremely negative backer who's just spreading lies, and we had people like that who just straight up lie about company, about you, saying non-truth and so forth. But on the other hand, you can have a creator where backer is asking like a legitimate question that they don't want to answer, and they just banning the guy, right? So
it's true. These are inherently tricky questions. I was just curious about that, because I remember I was talking with AEG after their Kickstarter, and they were talking about how you can kick someone after the campaign ended, but you can't do anything during the campaign. And I thought that was fascinating. But
That's true.
So that's basically in terms of comments. In terms of automatic stretch goal unlocking, and again, I'll go into a brief overview of the feature for those who don't know yet. But basically, if you're not familiar already, stretch goals are, well, a concept that is basically handled completely manually in Kickstarter. The creator says, hey, we'll be doing this, we'll get to it, and then eventually someone has to be up at 3:27 in the morning because you perfectly crossed $30,000 and you have 15 people commenting, wait, Marcin, where's our stretch goal? We unlocked it. Show us the thingy. And so one of the things you guys are doing is you're doing automatic stretch goal unlocking. It's planned. It's there. It's in the system. You hit that number, and boom. I assume an update pop. I assume you can trigger an update along with it.
Yeah, something like that. Sure.
So it's fascinating already. So I had a few questions about it, which is, first of all, is what happens when a creator wants to either edit the gap, or if they want to introduce another stretch goal. Like sometimes when a campaign is not doing well, they'll introduce another stretch goal underneath it. Like, here's a bonus stretch goal or whatnot. Like, how do you plan on incorporating for those?
Sure. So this is possible. It will be also possible to have two types of stretch goals, not only money-based, but also the user base.
Oh, user-based, okay.
User-based, right? And probably we'll also do like a daily unlocks or whatever. Yeah. The trickier question, and I forgot what our answer was, but we actually have the answer for that, is what happens if you go through the stretch goals, you unlock it, but then the fundings go back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did you decide?
I don't remember.
So
I have to I honestly.
So Command always has this with their campaigns where they wait till it's like $1,000 over or something like that just to match. And I always thought does it really matter? Like, you unlocked it, it's all good. Like, I mean, I guess you could have situations where something really goes downhill.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few campaigns like that.
Yeah,
sure.
that can be more of an issue when it's when it's a little bit here. You drop 20 people.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Who cares?
That's true. That's true.
Which actually brings my next question. My next question was going to be, and we just touched upon this, is what about timed unlock? So you're going to give the ability to show tomorrow there's a timed unlock coming, or this is the next time unlock.
Currently not, but in the future I definitely want stuff like that, because this is the one thing that is actually cool in being campaign, that you have all this excitement going. And the more stuff like that we can do, the better it will be for everyone, because there is like this excitement factor where you actually see things happening in real time, or the clock that is actually missing to reveal. So definitely but to be honest, we first have to nail the basics, just make sure that the fundamentals are strong, and then we'll,
I asked because I think over this past year in particular is when we've really started to see daily reveals, as opposed to or along with stretch goals, start to become more and more the norm in many campaigns. So yeah, it's definitely something that will happen.
I think that it also connected to something else, meaning that creators realize at much bigger rate that you need to gather the community before the campaign launch, and this resulted in the first 2 days of the campaign being much higher and the middle of the campaign being much sorer and much flatter, so that you still want to keep the excitement of the campaign going. Even if
and it really is a huge pivot. I mean, it used to be you launched a Kickstarter and you hope you're found, and now they're like, no, you have to spend months building your audience. You have to have your Facebook page, your notify me on launch page.
A bit ironic, isn't it?
It totally changes. Kickstarter has really pivoted. It used to be Kickstarter. Now it's build your campaign here, then use a pledge manager so you can continue getting people for months after. Meanwhile, the actual campaign is 2 weeks.
Sure. And there are so many games that actually are fully ready, just just going in like that.
In terms of add-ons, so one of the things, again, this goes back to a feature you're adding that Kickstarter hasn't adapted, which is the ability to actually have add-ons and not just here's a little chart of ways you can throw extra money into the campain and just figure it all out.
The funny thing is that it's all graphics on the Kickstarter. It's like, for me, it was impossible when you actually, I thought, my first contact with it was like, okay, so we have a graphic and we are actually changing the graphic in the middle of the campaign. And it's really stressful. I will tell you that.
Absolutely bizarre.
It's stressful as hell, because you're actually meddling in the middle of the campaign that, for example, have 10,000 people on it, and you're changing a graphic, and something can crash. You can delete another graphic by accident. You can by accident click delete this campaign or whatever. It's crazy that you're in the middle of the campaign and you are meddling with this page all the time, once daily.
Kickstarter, this goes back to what we said in the beginning, like Kickstarter, while a great platform, board game creators have adapted it to suit their needs. It's not being a tool for them. It's just being adapted. But
Yep,
so yeah,
yep, yep.
so as far as add-ons, one of the things you'll be doing with GameFound is you're having actual add-ons. That
Yes.
you're showing the ability to say, hey, here are the add-ons we want,
Mm-hmm.
and just add them. No having to figure out the math, no having to look at graphics or update graphics or whatnot. And I was curious about that in terms of one of the things I was curious about that, and again, may not be a day one feature, I just thought always thought it'd be a great idea with Kickstarter, is the idea of having, let's say, a tiered add-on. That here's an add-on, but we're only going to introduce it if you have at least 500 backers.
Yes, we'll do that for sure.
Awesome.
100%.
One of the things I consistently see, because going back to the struggles creators have, is they want to accommodate people.
Yep.
But they also we can't make a
Definitely.
playmat if 7 people buy it.
Yep, exactly, and this is also to the stretch goals. I want to actually mention that because it's also cool to see, because right now the stretch goals are only usually to the core box, right? You have like this extra, but this actually, when you think about it longer, it doesn't make sense, because let's say that I have a mat, right? And the mat in no way contributes to the core box, obviously, right? And if 2,000 people buy the mat, it costs X amount of money. If 10,000 people buys the mat, it costs,
Less.
smaller percentage, whatever, right? So you could actually make that, meaning that if 10,000 people will buy it, the price may drop for everyone.
Wow.
Or, we will add some extra feature to this add-on, not to the whole thing, right? And then you have, I'm not sure how much of incentive it will be for people to buy it or not, but it will be more fair for the creator, right? Because it's actually those money that they gather extra from this add-on can be used for this add-on, right? Makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. And for that matter, by the way, while we're talking about it, what about pledge levels? What about the concept of having a pledge level that's tiered as well? So like class example is like, oh, hey, let's take the Great Wall, for instance, where you had the mini pledge as well as the meeple pledge. So like, can you add a pledge level that is also tiered? This is a pledge level that we're only going to do if we have X number of people.
Yeah, sure. That will be perfect.
Yeah,
in the end.
You go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if they will make sentences ISS Vanguard, so probably not there. But
in general, I'm just talking in general. I mean,
Sure.
I just saw a list. Basically, what happened to me, speaking of my own end, is first of all, I saw you guys launched. I saw the announcement that you guys launched basically a Kickstarter competitor, and I was like, that's a terrible idea. And then I read the actual post, and it took me 3 minutes to be completely sold, because I have been talking in the past with other people, with other creators, with companies about these areas where Kickstarter is not delivering. And then your announcement, it specifically comes off all the Hero Quest buzz, where Hero Quest is using Hasbro Pulse. And that is a step back from Kickstarter. It's like, forget Kickstarter. It's a huge step back. So I heard your guys, and I was like, okay, great, they're making a pledge manager.
Yeah,
but then I saw the features. So yeah.
I was actually, because, the Hasbro Pulse came before us, and I was like, there was like a huge announcement, and someone is calling me like, Hasbro started the crowdfunding. And I was like, Hasbro is a big company, right? So I was expecting something pretty epic, and then I went there and I was like, is that it?
Yeah, but that's the difference. Hasbro Pulse is not a Kickstarter company, so they didn't know how to make a Kickstarter product. Because you guys have been in the sphere, you know what you're doing. But yeah, so for me, what happened is all these questions are basically, I see a company that's actually doing all these things that I thought should be done for who knows how long, and to me, it's just a Christmas list. It's like, okay, great. What else can I ask for? What other features can you do? So I'm not even thinking about day one.
There's also the fine balance, because one thing that I think that is really cool in Kickstarter is that it's extremely approachable. You don't have, the more feature you have, the more you automatize things, the more setup you need to do, or the more tables you got, the more options and so forth. And there is a fine balance, I think. Obviously, what we're talking right now, not having stretch goals or add-ons as a systemic feature, I think this is like come on. Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah. But if you go too much, it's also not good, because then you have like a first-time creator, and he just wants to do like some basic stuff, but he's bombarded like, maybe you will do this add-on, but limited, but with 5 language editions, and he doesn't need that, right?
Sure.
So probably that would need some more versioning of like, unlocking, like you have like this very simple forward, and then you get like, okay, but this is all the extra options. You don't need them, but maybe you're a big player, then you will need.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, there are like a lot of it's extremely complicated topics all around.
Yes.
Very. Very, very, very.
And then for bundled pledges, which was the next feature you have, bundled pledges, the idea that it's
Yep.
basically a pledge level often does consist of, here's this, it's basically what we often call
Yep.
all-in pledges.
Yep.
Here's the
Yep.
game, here's all the expansions, whatever.
Sure.
So one of the things I was curious about that, in addition to obviously the functionality it adds in and of itself, is can you theoretically, again down the road, theoretically warn someone when they're about to add an add-on that's in the bundled pledge? Like, hey, you're about to add this add-on to your bundle pledge.
This is actually a very good idea. I haven't heard about, but well, systemically it doesn't seem like something complicated when you have those two things concerning. And yeah, that's definitely that. Like one thing that we have already, and it saved a lot of troubles, is edit like versions.
Yeah.
Because obviously on Kickstarter you don't have like
English languages and whatnot?
For example, right? Or for example, T-shirts, sizes, whatever.
Yep.
Like, and you can actually, currently we have it and it kind of enforce you. Like when you put it into your cart, there's a pop-up asking you what language, and you need to pick one, right? And then it saves it saves our customer service a great deal of pain where people are like, oh, I got an English game, but I want a German or whatever, right? So so definitely anything that we could do like that would be perfect, because a lot of people are saying, I'm always trying to put myself in the shoes of the customer when I'm thinking about things, and a lot of people would be like, oh my god, how can you add a pledge and then add an add-on, and how could you miss that and whatever. But to be honest, it happens because we don't have time. Like no one goes on the Kickstarter page and spend 5 hours reading about everything. Usually what I do is I just, see something I like, I press 2 buttons, and then I, hope for the best and forget about it for 2 years, right? And, the more we can go with helping those people to make it flawless process, to help them out to choose a correct thing, the better it will be, I think, for everyone in the hobby, right?
Which is a perfect next step to the last feature that I saw mentioned, which is the mini wizard, the wizard that will guide people. And this one, I only have one question on, because my question is, how does that work? Like, functionally speaking, how does that play out? Where somebody, I'm a new backer, I have no idea what's going on. Like, what's an example of how it plays out?
Yeah, sure. So this will be like a
little
table
sidebar
on the exactly on the right that will just follow you through the through the project. And first idea is that it will have contextual information. So depending on which section of the campaign you're at, it will show a bit different information or FAQs or whatnot, right? But also it will include the the kind of like the creator can pick their most feature pledge, what they want to people to think that is the best one. And it will feature like, you don't want to read too much, just pick this, because this is what creator recommended, right? If you want to customize up, you can pick and choose pledges, add-ons, and just customize everything, right? And then once you make a pledge, it will actually change into like, this is your pledge. So whenever you come into the website, it will show on green that you are a backer of this campaign. It will show how much have you backed. You can modify your pledge, you can remove stuff, you can cancel your pledge, and basically all those different information will be in there, right? And right now we also want to again, I'm not sure how much of this will be implemented. I don't want to make people sad when they will come to the ISS Vanguard, but just to say how many cool things you can do actually when you want. Just imagine this way: like you go on an update. There's an update about new add-on, and you are in the update, and you can actually press add add-on, and it just adds
instead
to your
of hopping
pledge,
back
right?
to the other page.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of going back and forth, right? So this is cool. There's like some cool ideas about stretch goals as well, combining stretch goals and updates, where you would automatically, as you said, for example, automatic notification once every stretch goal is unlocked. Stuff like that. There's like a lot of ideas. Little time, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, all I'm seeing. This goes back to what I said. Like, I'm just seeing something that is Kickstarter, but is now going to do more than Kickstarter does already, and then over time more things and more things. It's constantly growing.
Yeah, exactly. This is this. And also I'm a huge believer in iteration process, where you actually do things step by step, read feedback, implement it, read feedback, implement it. I think that's the only real way to doing great things. You basically need to, bounce it out of customers, of actually creators. So.
That's something we touched upon in the beginning. This is, I guess we're done with the list of features, or the list of features that you mentioned in the post, I should say. So one thing we talked about briefly is the social aspect of Kickstarter. Do you plan on either do you have that now, or will you plan on having the whole so-and-so just backed function? Like when I get an email like, oh, I follow this creator and they just backed something.
Yeah, probably at some point in time we'll want to introduce it. I for me, a good benchmark of. Okay, so our main page sucks as well, so we need to change main page a lot. But either way, I'm a huge fan of the way Steam does it. Steam is my benchmark for a good way of showing. So it kind of shows the games that are similar to your interests, shows the reviewers that you are following, right? Stuff like that, referrals and so forth. So this is something that I would like to do. I would also love to do some kind of referral program with reviewers, where, for example, you could follow a reviewer who have an account on GameFound, and then if this reviewers recommend the game, and you are following by Ragdo or Dice Tower or whatever, it will just send you a notification like, hey, reviewer that you are following recommended this game, right?
Cool. That'd be awesome for me. My whole channel's Kickstarter games.
Yeah, I mean,
awesome, very cool. So that's basically it. I guess before we close up, is there anything you want to say? Anything you want to tell people about, get them excited for, or actually just one more question? Why not?
Sure.
What's Awaken Realms' next game?
ISS Vanguard, or after that?
After.
Not gonna say. Sorry.
Nothing. When do we find out? Let's put it that way.
Next year. We are kind of in the, making a game a year. That's probably our...
Because you guys have been teasing ISS Vanguard for a long time. Every project someone gets, it's like, oh, and here's a little thing. Here's a little thing you might be interested in.
But that's why, because we're really excited about this one. We really want to make an amazing adventure. And come on, people, humanity, let's explore some space.
Very cool. So then pass my last question. Anything you want to tell anyone, or?
Yeah, sure. So basically, if you're a creator that would be interested or whatnot, there's like a whole business page on the GameFound. You can go there, check out, whether it's just a pledge manager or you would be interested in a tool like that, and also we'll be giving all sorts of incentives to use that. Then just go ahead, contact us. We have a good team of people who will go, and generally we'll see. I think that overall it will be interesting. It's obviously it's a huge thing for us. It will be probably a lot of stress, but also if you want to do great stuff, you kind of need to take risks and do things.
100%.
So hopefully, like the end thought that I have, like hopefully I think that it will be good for industry. That's what would be cool to have.
I'm telling you, I went from being a huge skeptic to I'm going to be like your biggest fan. I'm going to be pushing GameFound. I think we need a better platform. Kickstarter is a huge. Again, nothing against Kickstarter; they've done a tremendous job. But this is a huge industry. Board games have been moving more and more to Kickstarter over the past few years, and with COVID, that acceleration has happened even faster. I think Kickstarter is very much a huge part of the board game space, and having a better tool, it can only be a good thing.
And also, I also wanted to say that crowdfunding is a beautiful process. I love it because it helps so much to keep you motivated, to keep feedback going, to create the product, to plan things ahead, production, logistics. I think it is not surprising that more and more companies goes to the crowdfunding. And it's not only about, because a lot of people are like, because they're getting money in front, whatever. It's like part of the things, obviously, right? Yeah. But it has this aspect of actually keeping you motivated. It's happening now. You can have a real dialogue. You can do stuff. You can change. You can have like the charts, votes on things. There's so much cool things, so much cool interaction that you can have, and people are very invested. This is, our industry is amazing. People are so amazing with all the ideas, how much they want to help you to make this beautiful game, right? And if we would just have like a good tools to help to accelerate that, kind of direct that in a more positive way, that'll be perfect.
Awesome. To everyone watching, one last thing I'll note, I'll have a link down below, but head on over to GameFound and become a registered user if you are not already,
Yep.
because you'll be getting a $5 off credit on ISS Vanguard
Yep.
if you, again, aren't already. If you back Nemesis, then by default you should be a registered user, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true.
Perfect. So yeah, go ahead, check that link out so you can jump on into that. Other than that, let me know if you have any comments down below, any suggestions, any features you'd love to see. By no means does it mean you're getting it, but it's fun to have a conversation.
I will be reading that. So for sure.
Yeah, basically, Marcin, it's been an absolute pleasure having you. To everyone else,
Cheers.
I'm Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo, and I hope you have a good one.
Bye bye.